Jack Mitchell wiped down the old wooden bar counter for the fifth time that evening. The Friday night crowd at last call was just starting to trickle in. Outside, the Wisconsin winter howled, but inside the bar, it was warm and smelled of beer and the day's special, beef stew. Jack had owned Last Call for 3 years now, ever since he left the Navy. The small-town bar wasn't much, but it was his. The locals loved it, and Jack had become something of a legend in Pinewood for two things: his famous beef stew and his even more famous ability to drink anyone under the table. "Hey, Jack," the usual called Frank, the town's aging mechanic, as he settled onto his favorite stool. Jack nodded and poured a pint of the local brew. "Rough day at the shop. You know how it is. Cars break down more when it's cold enough to freeze your fingers off." Frank took a long drink. "Heard there's some strangers in town. Scientists or something." Jack raised an eyebrow. Pinewood rarely got visitors, especially in the dead of winter. Scientists? What would they be studying out here? "Beats me. Sam said they were asking weird questions at the diner this morning. Wanted to know about local traditions and customs." Frank shrugged. "Maybe they're writing a book about small-town America or something." The door swung open, bringing in a blast of cold air. 3 figures stepped inside, brushing snow from their shoulders. Jack immediately noticed something odd about them. They were dressed normally enough in winter coats and boots, but they moved differently, like they were carefully thinking about each step. The tallest one scanned the room before leading the others to the bar. All 3 sat down with careful, deliberate movements. "Evening," Jack said. "What can I get you folks?" The tall one smiled, but the expression seemed practiced. "Good evening. We would like to try your most popular alcoholic beverage, please." There was something off about the way he spoke. Perfect English, but with no accent Jack could place, and oddly formal. "Sure thing. 3 drafts of Pinewood Pale Ale coming up." Jack filled the glasses, watching the strangers from the corner of his eye. They studied the beer like scientists examining specimens, holding their glasses up to the light and sniffing cautiously before taking small sips. The shortest one's eyes widened. "This fermented grain liquid is quite interesting." The woman in the group elbowed him sharply and whispered something Jack couldn't hear. More locals began filling the bar. Fridays were always busy, and tonight was no exception. Sam Holloway, Jack's best friend since high school, pushed through the crowd and leaned against the bar near the strangers. "Jack, my truck's making that noise again. Think you could take a look tomorrow?" Sam ran her fingers through her short red hair, her eyes darting curiously to the visitors. "Sure thing, Sam. By the way, have you met our visitors?" Jack gestured to the 3 strangers. The tall one extended his hand in a stiff motion. "I am, Kevin. These are my colleagues, Lisa and Bob. We are conducting research on regional cultural practices in rural communities." Sam shook his hand, her expression curious. "What kind of research brings you to Pinewood in February?" "We're not exactly a tourist destination. We find smaller communities often preserve unique cultural elements," Lisa said, her words carefully chosen. "Your tradition of competitive consumption of alcoholic beverages is particularly interesting to us." Jack chuckled. "You mean drinking contests? That's not exactly unique to Pinewood." "Perhaps not," Kevin replied. "But we understand you are particularly skilled in this area." The bar had grown louder as more locals arrived. Someone turned up the jukebox, and a group at the back started a game of darts. Bob leaned forward, his eyes unnaturally bright. "We would very much like to observe such a competition. Do these occur frequently?" "Hell, you don't need to wait for one," Frank called out from his stool. "Jack here can outdrink anyone. It's practically a local attraction." Kevin turned to Jack with an expression of intense interest. "Is this accurate? You possess superior capacity for alcohol processing." Jack shrugged modestly. "I can hold my liquor. That's all." "Then perhaps," Kevin said, his lips forming an odd smile, "we might arrange a demonstration of this ability." Sam shot Jack a warning look, but he missed it completely. The strangers were odd, but Jack had dealt with weirder customers before. "Sure," Jack said with a grin. "If you're buying." He had no idea that this simple agreement would change not just his life, but the fate of human-alien relations forever. Word spread quickly through the small bar. Jack Mitchell was going to face off against the strangers in a drinking contest. The locals gathered around, forming a loose circle around Jack and the three visitors. "What are the rules?" asked Kevin, his posture stiff as he sat across from Jack at a small table. "Simple," Jack explained, setting up shot glasses. "We take turns. 1 shot each round. Last one standing wins." Sam leaned close to Jack's ear. "Something's not right about these people," she whispered. "They don't blink enough. And have you noticed how they all move at exactly the same time?" Jack nodded slightly, but kept his eyes on Kevin. "They're odd, sure, but they're paying. What's the worst that could happen?" Sam rolled her eyes. Famous last words. Meanwhile, the three strangers huddled together, speaking in hushed tones. "This is perfect for our research," Lisa said quietly. "Our enhanced metabolic systems will easily process their primitive alcohol." "Remember, we must maintain our human appearances," Kevin warned, "no matter how much of this ethanol we consume." Bob nodded eagerly. "The data we collect on human social rituals will earn us great recognition in the Confederation." They broke their huddle as Jack placed a bottle of clear liquid on the table. "We'll start with vodka," Jack announced. "Good, clean burn." Frank appointed himself the official referee and filled each shot glass. "On 3, you drink. Wait 30 seconds between rounds. If you quit or pass out, you're done." The bar grew quiet as everyone watched. Even the jukebox seemed to fade away. 1, 2, 3. Jack and Kevin downed their shots in perfect sync. Kevin's companions followed suit. The locals cheered as Jack smiled, not even wincing at the burn. "That's what you call drinking in these parts?" Kevin asked, his speech slightly more relaxed than before. "This will be simpler than expected." Round after round went by. The vodka bottle emptied and was replaced with whiskey. The whiskey gave way to tequila. Lisa started showing signs of intoxication first, her carefully controlled movements becoming jerky. Her eyelids fluttered strangely, sometimes staying half-closed for too long. "Perhaps I should withdraw from this competition," she said after the 8th round, her voice fluctuating in pitch. Bob lasted until round 12 before his head dropped suddenly, as if someone had cut his strings. He caught himself and stood up abruptly. "I must use your waste elimination facility," he announced loudly, then staggered toward the bathroom. "That leaves you and me," Jack said to Kevin, who was still sitting straight, but whose skin had taken on an odd bluish tinge in the dim bar light. Kevin nodded slowly. "Your capacity is unexpected. Our research indicated that humans should not be able to process this much ethanol without severe impairment." Sam, who hadn't left Jack's side, narrowed her eyes at the strange comment. "Your research?" Kevin seemed not to notice his slip. He picked up the next shot, studying the amber liquid inside. "We have studied many species across the country. None show your resistance." The bar door swung open, and Bob returned, looking more composed. He whispered urgently to Kevin, who nodded. "Is something wrong?" Jack asked, feeling only a pleasant warmth from the alcohol. "Not at all," Kevin replied too quickly. "Though I admit to being curious about your unusual tolerance. Is this common among your people?" "Just a gift," Jack said with a shrug. "Been this way since I was younger." Kevin leaned forward with intense interest. "A genetic variation. Fascinating. On our home planet, such variations are extremely rare." The bar went silent. Even the drunk patrons at the back table stopped talking. "Did you say home planet?" Sam asked, her voice cutting through the silence. Kevin froze, looking around at the staring faces. He turned to Lisa with what appeared to be panic in his eyes. "I believe," he said carefully, that the next round should be doubled. Jack grinned, unaware of the true significance of what was happening. "You're on." Sam wasn't fooled. She pulled Jack's sleeve and hissed, "Jack, I think we're drinking with aliens." Jack stared at Sam for a moment, then burst out laughing. "Aliens? Come on, Sam." But when he turned back to Kevin, he noticed things he hadn't before. The strange blue tint to Kevin's skin wasn't just a trick of the light. His eyes seemed too large, and when he blinked, it was sideways. "Your friend is very observant," Kevin said, his voice now different, with an odd humming quality underneath the words. "But I assure you, we mean no harm. We are merely researchers." The bar had gone completely silent. Even Frank, who had been pouring shots, stood frozen with the bottle in his hand. "Researchers," Jack repeated. "From space." Lisa sighed and pressed something on her wrist. The air around the three visitors shimmered slightly. Their appearances didn't change completely, but now everyone could see the subtle differences. The slightly larger eyes, the bluish undertone to their skin, the too perfect symmetry of their faces. "We are from the Zornai Confederation," Lisa explained, her voice also carrying that strange humming undertone. "We study emerging civilizations. Your planet has been of particular interest to us." Bob returned from the bathroom, looking annoyed. "You revealed us. The research committee will not be pleased." Several people in the bar backed away, but most stayed, too curious or too drunk to be properly afraid. More shots. Someone yelled from the back. "Let's see if the alien can really outdrink Jack." Kevin looked surprised at the response. "You are not alarmed by our presence." Jack shrugged. "Buddy, this is Pinewood. The most exciting thing to happen here in the last decade was when the high school football team made it to state finals. Besides, you're paying customers who haven't caused any trouble." Frank, recovering from his shock, poured the next round of shots. "The contest continues unless you're forfeiting." Kevin looked at his companions, then back at Jack. "We will continue. Our study must be completed." The drinking resumed, but now the atmosphere had changed. The locals were fascinated, asking questions between rounds. "Do you have bars where you come from? What do you normally drink? Can you really fly in spaceships?" The three aliens answered politely, though they were clearly becoming more intoxicated. Their carefully maintained human behaviors were slipping. "Our species," Kevin explained after the 15th round, "has superior biological processing capabilities. We should be able to filter this ethanol more efficiently than any human." He swayed slightly in his seat. "It is most puzzling that you show no signs of impairment." Jack just smiled and downed another shot. "Like I said, it's a gift." By the 20th round, Bob was under the table, completely unconscious. Lisa was speaking in her native language, a series of musical tones that made the glasses on the bar vibrate. Kevin was still upright, but barely. His blue skin had darkened to indigo, and he was blinking rapidly with sideways eyelids. "Impossible," he slurred. "Your liver function defies all biological models we have of your species." Sam, who had been taking notes on her phone, leaned in. "Maybe you should be studying Jack specifically. He's not exactly normal, even for humans." Kevin's eyes widened. "A genetic anomaly. A evolutionary advancement." He tried to focus on Jack. "Are there others like you?" Jack shook his head. "Not that I know of. Doctors once told me I have some rare mutation. My liver processes alcohol differently. They'd wanted to study me, but I said no." Kevin suddenly stood, wobbling dangerously. "This changes everything. You must be." He switched to the musical language for a moment, then back to English. "The vessel." With that declaration, Kevin's eyes rolled back, and he collapsed beside his companions. The bar erupted in cheers. Jack had won, as everyone knew he would. But Sam wasn't celebrating. "Jack," she said quietly, "I think you just became important to them. Really important." Jack looked down at the unconscious aliens, then at the cheering locals. Well, that's a first. Never knocked out an entire alien research team before. What neither Jack nor anyone else in the bar realized was that Kevin had managed to send a brief message to the research ship orbiting Earth before passing out, a message that would change everything. The morning after the drinking contest, Jack opened the bar to find Kevin and his companions waiting outside. They looked perfectly normal and showed no signs of their heavy drinking from the night before. "Good morning, Jack Mitchell," Kevin said. "We wish to apologize for last night's unexpected revelations." Jack unlocked the door and let them in. "No need to apologize. It was the most exciting Friday night this town has had in years." Sam arrived moments later, looking like she hadn't slept. She carried a notebook filled with questions she had thought of overnight. "I have so much to ask you," she said, sitting across from the aliens. "Where exactly do you come from? How many species are in this confederation? How long have you been watching Earth?" Lisa smiled. "Your curiosity is refreshing. Most beings would be frightened by our presence." "Oh, I'm terrified," Sam admitted. "But I'm also really curious." Kevin placed a small device on the table. It lit up and projected a 3D map of stars into the air. "We come from here," he said, pointing to a star system about 30 light-years from Earth. The Zornai Confederation includes 27 different intelligent species from 42 star systems. Bob, who seemed the most embarrassed about the previous night, added, "We have been observing Earth for approximately 200 of your years. Your species has shown remarkable progress in a short time." Jack started his morning routine, preparing the bar for the day. "So why the drinking contest? Was that part of your research?" Kevin looked at his companions before answering. "We study cultural practices. Your species' consumption of recreational intoxicants is unique among the beings we have encountered. Most species either have no reaction to such substances or find them immediately toxic. But you three seem to handle it pretty well. Until the end," Sam pointed out. "We have advanced biological filters," Lisa explained. "We can process most toxins and foreign substances, or so we thought." She looked at Jack with scientific curiosity. "You, however, demonstrated capabilities beyond our understanding of human physiology." Jack shrugged. "Like I said, it's just a weird thing with my liver." Kevin leaned forward, his eyes intense. "It is much more than that. Our scans indicate your liver processes alcohol 48 times more efficiently than the average human. This is not a small variation. It is a significant evolutionary leap. A leap that helped me win bar bets, nothing more," Jack said, uncomfortable with the attention. Bob's device on his wrist suddenly chimed. He looked down, and his eyes widened. "The High Council is responding to our report." "They are very interested in Jack." Kevin nodded. "As expected. Jack, in our culture there are ancient prophecies about beings who can consume the sacred spirits without effect. They are called vessels. Beings who can carry the essence of our ancestral wisdom." Sam raised an eyebrow. "You're saying Jack fits your alien religious prophecy because he can drink a lot?" "It is more complex than that," Lisa said. "The chemical composition of your alcohol is remarkably similar to our ritual sacred spirits, which we use in very small amounts during our most important ceremonies. No Zornai can consume more than a few drops without falling into a deep trance." "And Jack drank 20 shots without blinking," Kevin added. "This has significant spiritual implications for some members of our confederation." Jack laughed nervously. "You're not serious." A bright light suddenly flashed outside the bar's windows. The aliens looked at each other with concern. "What was that?" Sam asked, moving to the window. "The High Council has sent representatives," Bob said, checking his device again. "This is unprecedented. They never interfere with research missions directly." Kevin stood up. "Jack Mitchell, I must warn you. Your demonstration last night has set something in motion that cannot be easily stopped. The High Council members include some who follow the old traditions very closely." "What does that mean for Jack?" Sam demanded. "It means," Lisa said softly, that some will view him as a divine manifestation. Jack blinked in disbelief. Because I can drink without getting drunk. That's ridiculous. The door to the bar opened, and two tall figures entered. Unlike Kevin and his team, these aliens made no attempt to look human. Their blue skin glowed faintly, and they wore elaborate robes covered in strange symbols. The taller one looked directly at Jack and bowed deeply. "We have found the vessel at last," it said in a reverent tone. Jack stood frozen behind the bar counter as the two alien officials bowed to him. Their blue skin glowed with patterns that shifted and changed like waves on water. "I think there's been a mistake," Jack said. "I'm just a bartender." The taller alien straightened up. "I am High Elder Zex of the Zornai Confederation. This is my assistant, Vril. We have traveled many light years after receiving the sacred message." Kevin quickly stepped between Jack and the newcomers. "High Elder, this human has not been properly informed of our traditions. Perhaps we should explain." "Silence, researcher," Zex said, though not unkindly. "This moment has been foretold for generations. The vessel has been found among the humans, just as the ancient texts predicted." Sam moved to stand beside Jack. "Excuse me, but what exactly does being the vessel mean for Jack?" Vril, the shorter alien, pulled out a device similar to a tablet. "According to our sacred texts, the vessel is one who can carry the wisdom of the stars without being overwhelmed. One who can consume the sacred spirits in quantities that would incapacitate others, yet remain clear-minded. And this is important because," Jack prompted. Zex's eyes shimmered with emotion. "For thousands of years, our people have sought deeper connection with the universe through the sacred spirits, but we can only take small amounts before losing consciousness. The texts speak of a being who can drink deeply of wisdom without drowning in it, a vessel for knowledge that can bridge worlds." Sam whispered to Jack, "They think your drinking ability is some kind of cosmic superpower." "This is crazy," Jack muttered back. "Word of your abilities has already spread throughout our research fleet," Bob explained. "The recording of last night's contest has been transmitted to 17 worlds." Jack's eyes widened. "You recorded that?" Lisa nodded. "Standard research protocol. We did not anticipate the recording would become quite so popular." "Popular?" Sam asked. Kevin looked uncomfortable. "The recording has been viewed over 6 million times on our information network in the past 12 hours. You're telling me I'm an alien viral video star?" Jack ran his fingers through his hair in disbelief. Zex approached Jack slowly with reverence. "Vessel, would you permit us to conduct a small ceremony? It would mean a great deal to our people." Before Jack could answer, the bar door opened again. Frank and several other locals walked in, stopping in surprise at the sight of the openly alien visitors. "What in the world?" Frank exclaimed. "It's fine," Sam said quickly. "Just some foreign diplomats interested in Jack." Frank looked skeptical but shrugged. "Whatever you say. Just came to see if the bar was opening today. News is spreading about last night. Half the town wants to meet your new friends." Jack looked from Frank to the aliens and back. "The bar's open. Everyone's welcome." As Frank and the others found seats, keeping a curious distance from the aliens, Jack turned back to Zex. "What kind of ceremony did you have in mind?" Zex produced a small crystal vial filled with glowing blue liquid. "This is the purest form of our sacred spirit. No Zornai has ever consumed more than 3 drops. And you want me to drink it?" Jack asked cautiously. "If you are truly the vessel, you will be able to drink it all and speak the wisdom that comes to you," Vril explained. Sam grabbed Jack's arm. "Are you sure this is safe? What if it's poisonous to humans?" Lisa stepped forward. "We have analyzed Jack's unique physiology. The sacred spirit will not harm him physically." "Physically?" Sam repeated. "What about mentally?" Kevin looked concerned. "The sacred spirit induces visions and heightened awareness in our people. We cannot predict its effects on a human, even one with Jack's special abilities." Jack stared at the vial, then at the expectant faces of the aliens, and the curious looks of his human friends. "If I do this, what happens next?" he asked Zex. The High Elder's face grew solemn. "If you can consume the spirit and remain conscious, many of our people will view you as a divine messenger. They will seek your wisdom, your guidance. And if I can't, then we will know you are simply a human with unusual biological traits," Vril said. "Still remarkable, but not the vessel of prophecy." Jack took a deep breath and reached for the vial. "Well, I've never backed down from a drinking challenge before." Sam watched anxiously as Jack uncorked the crystal container. "Jack, are you sure about this?" He grinned at her. "Not at all. But how often does a small-town bartender get to become an alien god?" With that, Jack lifted the vial to his lips and drank the glowing blue liquid in one swallow. The moment Jack swallowed the glowing blue liquid, everyone in the bar fell silent. The aliens watched with wide eyes, while Sam held her breath. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Jack stood there, looking at the empty vial. "Tastes like blueberries, and something else. Not bad, actually," he said. Then his eyes began to glow with the same blue light as the liquid. Jack gasped and gripped the edge of the bar to steady himself. "Jack." Sam moved toward him, but Zex held up a hand. "Do not interfere. The sacred spirit is working within him." Jack's face went through a series of expressions: surprise, wonder, confusion, and then a strange calm. When he spoke again, his voice carried the same musical undertone that the aliens' voices had. "I can see everything," Jack said slowly. "Stars being born, planets forming, the paths of comets across endless sky." He looked directly at Zex. "I can see your homeworld. The 3 moons, the purple forests, the crystal cities." Zex dropped to his knees, followed quickly by Vril and the other aliens. "He speaks the truth. He sees our world, though he has never been told of it." Jack continued, seemingly unaware of the effect his words were having. "I can see connections between stars, between worlds, between people. It's beautiful, like a giant web of light stretching across the universe." "The great pattern," Vril whispered in awe. "He sees the great pattern." The locals in the bar looked on in confusion and fascination. Frank leaned over to Sam. "Is Jack okay?" His eyes are glowing. "I don't know," Sam admitted, "but he doesn't seem to be in pain." After about 5 minutes, the glow in Jack's eyes slowly faded. He blinked several times, then looked around at the kneeling aliens. Why are you all on the floor?" Zex rose slowly. "You spoke of things only the most enlightened of our kind have glimpsed after lifetimes of study. You saw our homeworld perfectly. You described the great pattern that connects all living things." Jack rubbed his temples. "I saw something. It's already fading, like a dream." "But you remained conscious throughout," Lisa said with scientific excitement. "No Zornai has ever remained conscious after more than 3 drops of the sacred spirit. You consumed the entire vial." Kevin was already sending data through his wrist device. The High Council must know of this immediately. Within hours, news of what had happened spread through the alien research fleet orbiting Earth. By evening, 3 more ships had arrived in orbit. Jack's bar had never been so busy. Locals packed the place, wanting to see the aliens and hear about Jack's experience. The aliens treated Jack with deep respect, almost reverence. "I don't understand why this is such a big deal," Jack told Sam as they watched more aliens arrive, all wearing the same formal robes as Zex and Vril. "From what I can gather," Sam said, "it's like you just proved a religious prophecy that they've believed for thousands of years. You're like their messiah or something." Jack nearly choked on his drink. "That's ridiculous. I'm just a guy with a weird liver." Zex approached them, looking solemn. "Vessel, we have received word from the Grand Council. They request your presence at a formal ceremony on our diplomatic ship." "In space?" Jack asked, his eyes widening. "It would be a great honor for our people. Zex continued. The ceremony would officially recognize you as the vessel of truth. And what would that mean, exactly? Sam asked suspiciously. Vril stepped forward with a tablet-like device. Your friend would become an honored spiritual guide to the Zornai people. His insights while under the influence of the sacred spirit would be recorded and studied. So you want me to drink more of that blue stuff and tell you what I see? Jack clarified. That is part of it, Zex admitted. But there is more. The vessel is also traditionally a bridge between cultures. You would help establish official relations between Earth and the Confederation. Jack looked stunned. You want me to be an interplanetary diplomat? I'm a bartender from Wisconsin. You are much more than that, Zex said firmly. You are the vessel who will bring new wisdom to our people. As they spoke, a soft blue light began to shine through the bar's windows. Outside, a crowd had gathered to stare up at the sky, where a massive ship now hovered, glowing with the same blue light as the sacred spirit. Vril looked up and smiled. The Grand Council has arrived. The next morning, government vehicles arrived in Pinewood. Men and women in dark suits walked into Jack's bar, led by a serious-looking woman with short gray hair. I'm Agent Diana Powell, United States Department of Extraterrestrial Affairs, she announced, showing her badge. We need to speak with the owner of this establishment. Jack stepped forward nervously. That's me. Agent Powell studied him. Mr. Mitchell, are you aware that there's an alien spacecraft hovering above your town? And that reports of alien visitors in this bar have been spreading across social media. It's been hard to miss, Jack admitted. Sam stood beside Jack. The aliens have been peaceful. They're just interested in Jack because of his special ability. Agent Powell raised an eyebrow. Special ability. Before Jack could explain, the door opened and Zex entered with two other aliens in elaborate robes. The government agents immediately reached for their weapons. Please remain calm, Zex said, raising his hands in a universal gesture of peace. We come with no hostile intent. This is High Elder Zex, Jack quickly explained. He's been nothing but respectful. Agent Powell cautiously relaxed her stance. Mr. Mitchell, we need to understand what's happening here. Our satellites detected 5 alien vessels entering Earth orbit in the past 24 hours. That's unprecedented. Zex approached Agent Powell. Your concern is understandable. The Grand Council rarely travels beyond our core systems, but the discovery of the vessel is an historic event. The vessel? Agent Powell looked confused. He means Jack, Sam explained. They think he's special because he can drink their sacred spirit without passing out. Agent Powell looked skeptical. You're saying all this is happening because Mr. Mitchell has a high alcohol tolerance. It is far more significant than that, one of the other aliens said. The vessel connects with the cosmic wisdom when consuming the sacred spirit. He sees truths hidden from ordinary minds. I just saw some weird stuff, Jack said modestly. Stars, planets, something they call the Great Pattern. Agent Powell looked between Jack and the aliens. Mr. Mitchell, the president has been briefed on this situation. Several world leaders are demanding information about these alien visitors. Jack's jaw dropped. The president knows about me. The entire world is about to know about you, Agent Powell said grimly. We need to establish official diplomatic contact with these beings, and apparently they want to do it through you. I've never been diplomatic in my life, Jack protested. Zex placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. Your role is not to negotiate treaties. You are the vessel who bridges understanding between our peoples. The wisdom you access through the sacred spirit will guide both our civilizations. One of the government agents whispered to Agent Powell, who nodded and turned back to the group. The Secretary of State is en route. Until then, we need to keep this situation contained. As if on cue, the bar's television switched on by itself. Every screen showed the same image, the alien ships hovering above Pinewood. A news anchor's voice came through. Breaking news. Multiple reports of alien spacecraft over a small Wisconsin town have been confirmed by government sources. Witnesses claim the aliens have made contact with a local bartender. So much for containment, Sam muttered. Agent Powell's phone rang. She answered it, listened briefly, then looked up with concern. There's another alien ship approaching Earth, the big one. Zex and the other aliens looked worried. That is not one of ours, Zex said. It bears the markings of the Krull Dominion. Who are they? Jack asked, not liking the aliens' reaction. A rival faction within the Confederation, Zex explained. They follow a different interpretation of our ancient texts. They believe the vessel should serve only those of highest rank, not all people. They seek to control you, the other alien added. To them, your ability is a weapon, not a bridge to wisdom. Agent Powell was already talking into her radio. We need a secure transport for Mr. Mitchell immediately. Jack looked at Sam, then at Zex, then at the government agents rushing around. How did a drinking contest turn into an interplanetary incident? Above them, the new alien ship moved into position, its dark shape blocking out the sun. The dark ship of the Krull Dominion hovered menacingly over Pinewood. Inside Jack's bar, everyone watched the screens with growing concern. We should get you to a secure location, Agent Powell told Jack. If these Krull aliens want to take you, we need to protect you. Jack looked around at the worried faces. I'm not running. This is my bar, my town. A beam of red light shot down from the Krull ship, landing in the street outside. When it faded, 3 tall aliens stood there. Unlike the blue-skinned Zornai, these aliens had gray skin with red markings. They wore armor that seemed to shift and move like liquid metal. That is Grand Commander Vex of the Krull Dominion, Zex said, his voice tight with concern. He is their spiritual and military leader. The 3 Krull aliens marched toward the bar, the crowd of onlookers quickly moving out of their way. What do they want? Sam asked. They believe the vessel should serve only the elite, Zex explained. In their interpretation of our texts, the vessel's vision should guide only those in power, not be shared with all people. The door to the bar swung open, and the Krull aliens entered. Grand Commander Vex was nearly 7 feet tall, his red eyes scanning the room until they settled on Jack. So this is the human vessel, he said, his voice deep and rumbling. You will come with us now. Your gift is too valuable to waste on common people. Agent Powell stepped forward. This man is under the protection of the United States government. Vex barely glanced at her. Your primitive weapons cannot harm us. Do not interfere. Jack walked out from behind the bar. I'm not going anywhere. I don't even understand what's happening yet. You need not understand, Vex said. You need only obey. The sacred wisdom you access will guide our dominion to its rightful place of supreme power in the Confederation. Zex moved to stand beside Jack. The vessel does not belong to any one faction, Vex. The ancient texts are clear on this. He is a bridge between all peoples. Your interpretation is weak. As always, Vex sneered. He pulled out a vial of red liquid. Human, drink this. It is our enhanced version of the sacred spirit. It will bind you to our will. Sam grabbed Jack's arm. Don't drink that. I wasn't planning to, Jack assured her. Agent Powell quietly spoke into her radio, while Frank and the other locals inched closer to Jack, forming a protective circle around him. Enough talk, Vex declared. Take him. The other 2 Krull aliens moved forward, but before they could reach Jack, Zex pulled out a small device and pressed it. A blue shield of energy surrounded Jack, Sam, Zex, and the other Zornai aliens. This has gone too far, Zex said firmly. The Grand Council arrives. The walls of the bar seemed to dissolve, revealing that they were no longer in the building, but on the deck of a massive ship. The Grand Council of the Zornai stood before them. 12 ancient-looking aliens with deep blue skin. What trickery is this? Vex demanded. No trickery, the eldest council member said. The bar and all within it were transported here for safety while you were focused on the vessel. Jack looked around in amazement. My bar is on an alien ship. Cool, Sam whispered. The council leader turned to Jack. We apologize for this conflict. The discovery of a true vessel after so many centuries has caused disagreement among our people. Jack looked at the Krull aliens, then at the council, and finally at all the humans who had been in his bar. Agent Powell, Frank, and the other locals, all looking equally confused. I think I understand now, Jack said slowly. The sacred spirit showed me connections between stars, between worlds, between people. It's not about power or control. It's about bringing people together. He walked over to Vex and held out his hand. We humans have a tradition. When we have disagreements, sometimes we sit down and talk about them over a drink. Vex looked at Jack's outstretched hand with suspicion. I'm not special because I can drink your sacred spirit, Jack continued. I'm just a guy who serves drinks and listens to people's stories. That's what a bartender does, creates a space where differences don't matter so much. The eldest council member nodded slowly. Perhaps that is why the prophecy led us to a human bartender. Not for power, but for wisdom. 6 months later, Jack's Place opened on an international space station. It was the first interspecies bar in Earth's orbit, with Jack as its proprietor. The Zornay and Krull had begun peace talks, with the bar serving as neutral ground. Sam worked alongside Jack, documenting the stories of their visitors from across the stars. And sometimes, on special occasions, Jack would drink a small amount of the sacred spirit and share the visions of connection that had turned a simple drinking contest into a new era of galactic relations.